You're watching the legal breakdown. So, Glenn, we finally got some aggressive moves by Jack Smith here. He's requested a gag order against Donald Trump in the DC case. What impact will this have on his trial?
Brian, at long last, somebody is formally asking Donald Trump to shut up. And it is special counsel Jack Smith who has filed a request for a gag order, more precisely, a narrowly tailored limitation on Donald Trump's dangerous, reckless, jury pool poisoning speech and posts. So hopefully the impact that this will have is it will put witnesses' minds at ease at least a little bit, because they know if they participate in the process, Donald Trump is not going to be able to post their names, to threaten them, to harass them, or to call his supporters to action against them. It's also going to be designed to protect the jury pool, because so many of Trump's posts these days seem designed to poison the well of public opinion and, by extension, poison each and every jury pool. The things he's saying about the horrible citizens of the District of Columbia and that rat-infested, murder-filled city. We're going to do a federal takeover, and it's very unpopular with the citizens. All of these things are obviously designed to poison the well of public opinion and the jury pool, specifically the jury pool in Washington, D.C. So hopefully this will get the proceedings back on track. And, this will ensure that the case is going to be decided on the evidence that is introduced during the trial, not on all of these, what we call extrajudicial, out-of-court statements.
But this is who Trump's always been. So, why is Jack Smith requesting this now? What's changed in the last few weeks that's different at this moment?
That's an excellent question, but it seems like Jack Smith concluded that we've reached critical mass. Yeah, Donald Trump has gotten away with so much for so long with respect to his, reckless, inflammatory disinformation that I ask myself the same question. Why now? And all I can say is Jack Smith has finally decided that not only has he had enough, but more importantly, he must have decided that the record is complete enough and clearly demonstrates the need for the judge to issue this restriction on Trump's speech and posts, a gag order. But let me tell you, I thought there was a last straw moment a long time ago. Remember when Donald Trump posted a picture of himself holding a baseball bat mid-swing? And in
Yeah.
the next frame over, he had a picture of New York District Attorney Alvin Bragg, the very person who was prosecuting him in New York. And Bragg had his, hands upraised as if he was about to be hit with the bat, defending himself or maybe surrendering. I thought to myself, Brian, that's a last straw moment. Well, what did we learn? There were so many more straws left before Jack Smith finally decided it's time to ask the court to shut Donald Trump down.
Now, to that point, what is the likelihood that Judge Chutkan actually grants this order?
I think the likelihood is high. And here's why. Let me just read one sentence from the motion that Jack Smith filed, because he's not saying, Judge, I want you to order Donald Trump to keep his trap shut at all times about all things. Here
Right.
is what Jack Smith is requesting of Judge Chutkan. She says the government seeks a narrow, well-defined restriction that is targeted at extrajudicial out-of-court statements that present a serious and substantial danger of materially prejudicing this case. The government's proposed order specifies that such statements would include A, statements regarding the identity, testimony, or credibility of potential witnesses, and B, statements about any party, witness, attorney, court personnel, or potential jurors that are disparaging and inflammatory or intimidating. That actually is fairly narrowly tailored. He can still go out there, Donald Trump can, and protest his innocence. He can say, I'm going to be exonerated. He can talk about his case. What he can't do, if Judge Chutkan enters this order, are those things specifically prohibited by this narrowly tailored order.
And by the way, aren't witness tampering and obstruction of justice, which these would fall under, aren't they already illegal?
Yeah, and Donald Trump seems to do it every day.
Right, because he knows he could do it. And then, if they were to try to hold him accountable for those things, that would be an entirely separate process. It would take a long time, and the jury pool would already be tainted. And so just kind of putting it in this gag order, and even though it is already a crime, including it in this gag order would kind of immediately prevent him from doing that. Is that right?
It would probably not prevent him from doing it. We both know that the first thing he's going to do is violate this order
Right.
once it's issued. But the nice thing about it is you don't have to begin presenting evidence to a grand jury of witness tampering, for
Right.
example, or obstruction of justice when Donald Trump says or posts something. Now, there is an immediacy to this. The immediacy will be if the order is issued and if he violates it, I can promise you Judge Chutkan will promptly set a hearing, what we call a show cause hearing. She will drag him into court and she will say, you must now show cause as to why you didn't violate the order and what the sanctions should be when and if I conclude you did.
And to be clear, if Judge Chutkan did bring him in for a show cause hearing, what could the range of responses by the court be? I know that you mentioned sanctions. What else could we be looking at here?
Yeah, so the first sanction, so to speak, is ordinarily a good stern talking to. Will that have any impact on Donald Trump? Of course not. But what I can tell you from my experience, having litigated these kind of issues over the years, is judges will almost always give a defendant one bite at the violating the protective order or violating the gag order apple and say, listen, you do it one more time, there will be sanctions. What do those sanctions look like? Well, they could certainly be punitive money damages or money sanctions. Although, we've all seen that Donald Trump, even when he loses a defamation suit and is ordered to pay $5 million, he runs right out and defames the victim all over again. So
Right.
you have to question the effectiveness of monetary penalties for violating an order like this. You can also you can actually hold Donald Trump in jail.
Right.
You can actually hold Donald Trump in contempt and sentence him to a period of incarceration. But really, the big ticket sanction is pretrial detention. And I predict that if Donald Trump continues to, on more than one occasion, continues to violate any order that Judge Chutkan puts in place, Judge Chutkan is pretty unflinching, and she may say, listen, you held the keys to the jail cell in your hand. And when you violated my order repeatedly, you know what? You put yourself in pretrial detention and you have no one else to blame. I have a feeling we are definitely moving in that direction, and we could see Donald Trump land in a jail cell prior to his trial date.
Now, Trump did take to Truth Social in the immediate aftermath of this narrowly tailored gag order being requested by Jack Smith, and he wrote, I'm campaigning for president against an incompetent person who has weaponized the DOJ and FBI to go after his political opponent, and I am not allowed to comment? How else will I explain that Jack Smith is deranged or Crooked Joe is incompetent? Will that post have any impact on the judge's decision here, or not really?
Oh, it certainly will, because the minute he was put on notice that the prosecutors were going to seek some sort of reasonable restrictions on his speech and on his posts, what does he do? He just ratchets up the inflammatory, not only rhetoric, but disinformation, because Joe Biden is not directing this prosecution, among other misrepresentations Donald
Right.
Trump makes. So I think this is actually just giving Jack Smith more ammunition in support of his request for precisely this kind of order.
Yeah. He mentioned in that post that he wouldn't be able to comment. Would this narrow gag order have any impact on his ability to simply comment on the case?
No, he is free to comment on the case. What he will not be free to do are those few things that we just read from the motion. You can't harass and intimidate witnesses or prospective witnesses. You can't say things that will poison the jury pool. You can comment all day long on every other matter, but you're going to be prohibited from doing a few narrowly tailored things.
Yeah, but of course, if he doesn't present himself as the victim, what else will he have left? Glenn, when can we expect a response by Judge Chutkan in terms of whether she'll either accept or reject this order?
Yeah, so Judge Chutkan ordered Trump's attorneys to respond by Sunday. So I have a feeling we're going to probably have a court hearing on this early in the week. That's my strong hunch. And we are going to get a decision promptly because just as we were discussing, Trump can't help himself. He will keep posting. He will keep saying things that are designed to intimidate witnesses, that are designed to poison the jury pool. So I have a feeling that now that this motion it has been filed, right now that the battle has been met, Judge Chutkan is going to resolve this issue very promptly.
Okay, and as soon as she does, we'll obviously be here to go over it. So with that said, for anybody watching, if you want to stay on top of this stuff, make sure to subscribe. The links are right here on the screen. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
And I'm Glenn Kirshner.
You're watching The Legal Breakdown.